Okay, half a minute ago, so let's get ready. So far nobody is watching, so it's just going to be me, myself and I. But let's keep it going, shall we? Hello everyone, and welcome. Tomorrow is exactly 1 year that I've done my first episode of the School of Live Streaming. And as you probably know, that was not the best start whatsoever. But yeah, bit by bit, I kept improving. Hey Martin, thanks for joining. So normally I was just going to do a small talk today about what this last year brought. But as there's only one person in the chat now, because I wanted an interaction with the chat, I'm going to show you a few things. Maybe some people are coming later into the chat and then we can have the discussion. Maybe the first thing is that there is yesterday, I think, vMix launched another update, mainly updates, bug fixes. And there's one very interesting thing for those who have the two most expensive versions of vMix. And I hope I am not going to crash my PC again, because I'm going to show it to you on, I only can show it on my production PC. Hi Mel, thanks for joining. So what's new in vMix Pro and vMix 4K? So I think, yeah, the two most expensive versions. Let me show you my input here. So in record, and it can be that it's going to crash, but let's give it a try. So of course it's not working when I'm recording. Well, I don't need a recording, so I'm going to shut down the recording so I can show it to you. When you set up your recording now in the latest version, what you can do is you have now the option here on top. So in the two most expensive versions, you have the possibility for two separate recordings. What you can do now is you have the opportunity here on top to choose what you want to send to those recordings. For instance, if you have set up output 1 as a full output with all your overlays, you can record it on your first recorder, and then maybe you want to set up your second recorder with a clean feed, and you have set up in your options maybe output 2 as a clean feed. So that's brand new now. Sorry. So that's all the other things. I'm going to link it in the description as usual. As told before, it's mainly bug fixes. The second thing I want to show you, and let me just put up a color. And let me put myself here. So I showed you last week, and let's see if this is going to work. I showed you this score bug. Now, one of the things I showed was that you can have 10 pages. So those 10 pages are being used here in this score bug to activate or deactivate certain information. It's kind of the layering system in Photoshop. And one of the problems was, yeah, but are there any shortcuts? And yes, there are. So I'm just I programmed my 1 to 9 numeric key here on my keyboard. So if I push, for instance, now my number one key, you see here that the first graphics comes up. If I want to get rid of this this title, I'm going to push number 2. That's to get rid of this title. So it's doing this animation. To put up page number 3, I'm just going to push number 3 on my keyboard. And here is the red card for Joseph Martinez. If I want to get rid of it, I push number 4. Page number 5 is under my 5 key. So 6 is get rid of it. And if I push number 9, for instance, it's the +5. So apparently there are several ways to use those pages in the graphic title designer. Hi John, nice to see you again. And the thing I'm using, and I'm sure there are multiple possibilities. So let me get get me rid of my picture in picture, and let me get rid of this, and I'm going to show you my desktop here. Okay. So the way I did it was in shortcuts. Let me show you this one. So the function number 1, number pad 1 is just my number 1 key on my numeric keyboard. The function I'm using is SelectIndex. For the input, it's your title, and then value is your page. So from 1 to, can be from 1 to 10. So this is how I'm using the pages in the graphic title designer. You can use another function instead of SelectIndex, but I found out that SelectIndex is really working. It's not documented, which is rather strange. But it's it's something I found, and I wanted to share with you. So that's the first thing I found out last week. The second thing I want to show you is I've been discussing, well, Martin had a few questions. Hi Jens, nice to see you. So what Martin was asking is it possible, well, here's the situation. A few people are going to sit in the green room, so they are waiting. And what Martin wanted to do was to send people some waiting music and maybe one or another graphic. Now, what we try to do is with shortcuts. Okay, you can choose with your shortcuts. Okay, I want to activate bus M or bus A, deactivate bus M or A, but you can't do both at the same time. And yeah, we were discussing. Oops, I see here that my stream is down. Is that possible? Oh no. Very strange things going on here. Do you guys still see the live stream? Because I'm getting here, let me refresh maybe, that there was a problem. Apparently it's still working. Okay. So how can you do two things at the same time? Because we couldn't figure out something with the shortcuts. Okay. And then I was thinking, hey, maybe we can use some scripting. So what I figured out was, let me show you my screen again. If I go to my shortcuts and I'm going here to my script. So this is just a shortcut to, let me show it to you. What I created was, I created a shortcut, script start, and the value is just the name of the script. Now, what did I put into the script? So I hope you guys can see this. So there has to be one bus active. For instance, let's say that Martin was sending waiting music on bus A. Then you can say at the same time, this is a script, function is audio bus and input is call, the name of the input, call Rudy 15 for instance, and the value is A, value is A bus. At the same time, function is audio bus and input is call Rudy 15 and value is M. Let me show you, this may be a little bit bigger. So these are the, oops. These are the two functions that I'm using. So what I can do now, and if you have a look here on the bottom on call Rudy 15, if I push now my shortcut, you see that I'm toggling between the M bus and the A bus. So I'm sending waiting music to the A bus, and the moment I want to send them the audio from the main bus, I just use my trigger and I'm sending them everything they need to hear. They're going back to the green room, I push my shortcut again, and they're having again what's being playing on the A bus. So that's a very nice way. If you go to the vMix vMix help file, you're going to see web scripting, and it's just the normal commands, but when you put them in a script, you can put several, you can do several things at the same time, which is not always possible with shortcuts. You can't combine often 2 or 3 shortcuts. So that was the first thing we found out. And then we played a little bit with vMix call, because we wanted to change whatever input we sent out via vMix call. And the shortcuts are rather hidden. Now, what you always can do, and I share my screen again, is here, if you have your vMix call, this is, by the way, my other computer. If you right click, and then you can say video source, okay, I want to send out output 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on the version you have. But this is a very easy way, but we wanted to use shortcuts. So which shortcuts are these? Okay, here under under another shortcut, For the video part, it's called VideoCallVideoSource. And it wasn't obvious what we needed to put where. So you just choose VideoCallVideoSource. Your input here, that's the video call of the other party. So in my case, call Rudy 15 because it's my 15-inch laptop, but that could be call Martin. And the value, because under value they put source, but it wasn't obvious what we needed to put under source. Now source is output 1, 2, output 2, output 3, or output 4. So whatever you have set up in your outputs, this is the value you need to put here. And then it's the same as right-clicking on your vMix call and sending out it that way. But if you want to use shortcuts with the keyboard on X keys, for instance, these are the values you need to put. So for the function is VideoCallVideoSource, the input is the vMix call input, and the value is output 1, output 2, output 3, or output 4. For the audio part, it's the same, but it's called VideoCallAudioSource. Again, the vMix call input here. And for value, you can choose between master, headphones, bus A, or bus B. So what I'm doing here is, okay, in the vMix call, I want to send bus A. So that's, maybe I'll try to show it to you. So here, this is vMix call. For heaven's sake, let's say that I'm sending to vMix call bus B here, normally. When I put my shortcut, it's going to send the A bus normally to the call. What I found is that if I, and this is something strange, if I right click on my call and I go to audio source, you see here bus A. So if I put bus M here, I right click on my vMix call, audio source, it's still bus A. So it's something I don't understand. It's working, the shortcut, but what's here doesn't reflect here when I right clicked on the vMix call. Hi Kenny. Nice to see you. So these are a few things we discovered out just by playing and discussion, and it was a rather interesting exercise Martin and I had, just discussing. And for instance, the first thing with the scripting, Martin was saying, "Oh, Rudy, can you do you think it's possible?" I said, "Maybe," and I couldn't find a solution. And just before we said hi to each other, I said, Martin, there has to be a solution. And just by having a look in the vMix manual, I found a possible solution. And but I discussed it with Martin, and I already told it a few times. I think if there is one thing that really needs some improvement, then it's the vMix manual. It's not always clear what you need to put where. I had to figure out a lot, and with testing together with Martin, maybe we need to put the input here, or no, the input there. That was how we found out what to put where. But again, we learned a lot, and now we can automate a lot of things. So what Martin, because it's a project of Martin, what we can do now is via shortcuts, send out whatever audio and video we want to the people in the green room. And the moment we want to bring in someone in a green room, send them another video and audio input just by using shortcuts. So that's a really nice thing. These were the 3 things I discovered together with Martin last week. Before we go into the discussion, on Thursday, I'm going to Integrated Systems Europe, or ISE, which is in Amsterdam. It's kind of a crazy thing because it's as big as the big show we did in September, where I was a guest for vMix. It's 4 days. It's as big, really as big. I think it's 11 halls again. It's not, there are not, the big TV companies are not there, but well, live streaming companies out there. So Burdock England is going to be there. X-Keys is not going to be in Amsterdam, but they're going to be in England end of the month. There are some other companies, of course. Blackmagic is going to be there, but also all the other manufacturers of projectors. And a few companies that's going to promote NDI. So it's going to be interesting to see if there is anything new. And I'm going to give you some feedback probably in 2 weeks. Martin Kay is also going to be there, but he's there on Wednesday and on Thursday morning. And I'm just going for 1 day with the train because the hotels were so darn expensive that I told at work, this is way too expensive. So I'm going up with the first train at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm coming back at 7-ish in the evening. It's 2 hours and a half train journey, so that's good. So I hope to see some interesting stuff over there. And I'll give you some feedback in 2 weeks. Okay, that brings me, and I see that I only spoke 20 minutes, so that's good. So I'm going to stay under the hour, John. So as I, excuse me, as I told you before, I think tomorrow, or today or tomorrow, is exactly 1 year that I started the School of Live Streaming. Why was I doing it? It was in the beginning kind of, oh, it's going to be fun to do some live streaming. As you know, I was part of SOLS, but I wanted to do something on my own, and also because I wanted to learn a lot. I did a few times the production of SOLS, and to be honest, it was not that difficult. I got here my X-Keys, my X-Keys 24 here. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult with the camera. So this is with the programmed. This is the vMix, the SOLS preset. The moment you know what to do with the audio part, it's just pushing a few buttons. So it was easy to do. What I learned in the beginning was, okay, I have here my X-Keys and all these shortcuts, but I didn't know what was happening behind the scenes. And as you probably knew from also my first episode, when I had 20 minutes no audio, one of the things was because I did too much in the beginning with shortcuts. And I said, after my first show, I'm going to get rid of all the shortcuts. And I was doing the show just by clicking. I still not use a lot of shortcuts. And it's rather strange because I have here my my APC Mini. Let me show you. I already showed you, but this is my X-Keys and sorry, my Akai APC Mini. Yeah, there are some green lines for the picture-in-picture. And it's rather funny because I'm always just clicking on my inputs when I'm doing my show. And I always forget that there is an APC Mini next to me. So just because I'm so used now. But that way, by doing and by making mistakes, I learned a lot. And bit by bit, by trying to figure out which shortcut do I need, I learned how to improve a few things. And the last few weeks, I went through a few shows, and I still saw so many mistakes. Hi, Uncle Dave. Good evening. And I made a list. I'm still making a list with all the mistakes I've made, and often it are the same mistakes, bad switching. So I think that I really need to start using my X keys and or APC Mini to do the switching. A problem I still have, and it's always my biggest problem, is now I put my smaller laptop a little bit farther away. I'm going to play with my two external screens because I'm still not happy. Now I'm just looking into normally straight into the camera. But I see that I look too much to that screen or to that screen, and that's production-wise, it's not a good thing. What I'm happy about is my audio. I don't have, to be honest, too many problems with my audio. As you've seen, I've used a lot my DPA headset, and it's a magnificent piece of equipment, but I prefer this microphone. And I know it's for some people maybe a little bit obtrusive that it's that you're seeing it, but I really don't like for 1 hour a microphone on my head or the earpieces, because the mistake I did with that microphone is it's a headset with in-ear monitors at the same time. Because in the beginning I was thinking, I'm going to have a lot of guests, but I think I did 5 or 6 shows with a guest, and all the other shows was just me talking. So then I don't need the earplugs, but I need to put them in. Otherwise, it's kind of like earbuds, or how do you call it in English? So they're banging here. So that's the reason I'm using this microphone, and I'm very happy with the microphone. Let me have a quick look at the chat to see if there are any questions. Oh, it's called earrings. Yeah, golden earring. I should have known that. Now, I talked, already said this a few times, and you saw that in the beginning I was doing every week a live stream, because there was so much I could talk about, and it was also about vMix. I had a few guests, which, by the way, were for me personally my best shows. The shows where Tommy, Giles, and certainly the one with the PI engineering crew was really great. But after a year, I started to struggle to find some decent topics. And I know I lost a few people because of that, because I wasn't doing a weekly show. But sometimes I just didn't have a topic. And what I didn't want to do was just talk about like what I'm doing now. That's good for once, every few months maybe, but not every week. If I do a show, I want, because your time is precious, and maybe there are a lot of other interesting shows happening now at this moment. So that's the reason why I'm now doing a show every 2 weeks. That gives me the opportunity to learn the other week trying to figure a few things out, prepare my other shows a little bit. And yeah, I honestly hope that I can continue to do a show every 2 weeks. What I can tell you is that in the very near future, I'm going to have a fixed guest, who is going to bring in some live feeds from wherever he is. So that's going to give a new dynamic into the show. We're still discussing if we're going to bring it into the School of Live Streaming, or if we're going to give it another name. But it's maybe it's going to give me the opportunity just concentrate on the production part, bring in this person as a guest with his guests, so I can concentrate that you're going to get a really nice production. Because I discussed it also with Martin, and Martin and I we're thinking the same about live streaming. That is that we talk too much about the technical part, and that we don't show enough productions. What I mean is by productions is what Martin did a few months ago into the wall show, is just show you, okay, I'm in the middle of nowhere, I'm using a generator, I'm using that kind of equipment, but this is really live streaming. What I'm doing now is, I don't call it really live streaming, it's just, well, a small live show. But production-wise, it's not that difficult. Everything is set up. I just have to launch my vMix, and I'm up and running. And this is what we're going to try to do. That Martin is going to bring in some guests. I'm maybe going to try to from a coffee bar or whatever. Just with very simple production that I started, one camera, one microphone, and see if it's working or not. So this is the way the School of Live Streaming is probably going to go in the near future. And of course, some people ask, can you do a show XSplit or OBS? And as I really want to do it, and I've played a little bit with OBS, but the problem is then you start, how is this working, how is this working? So I'm not going to stay blind for Wirecast, OBS, XSplit, and all the other programs. And when I found some interesting information, I'm going to give you the information. For those who are interested in my bi-weekly newsletter, go to my website, theschooloflivestreaming.com. Just enroll you for my my newsletter. And what I put in my newsletter is, okay, during my last show I talked about that, and then there are often 3 or 4 links from interesting information I found on one or more Facebook groups or on the internet. The same information I put also on my Facebook group, the closed group of School of Live Streaming. Okay, so it's 9:30, I think, yeah. So I'll have a look at the chats now, guys, and if you have any questions, and please, but what you can do is, and I just ask for your honest opinion, what's being good or what's not being good in all the shows I did. Please don't hesitate to put them now into the chat, and maybe we can have a discussion. I'm going to let it run till 20:45, so 8:45 for me. So another 10 minutes for a discussion, and it can be really broad. about my show, what you guys liked or didn't like, other ideas for improvement, and yeah, just go ahead. John, okay, let me see here if I can bring this up. So what John is saying, it doesn't like that there is no ice cream. Well, John, for that you're probably going to need to wait till the weather is a little bit better here. Oops, and I forgot to do something. I put it on automatic, so let me get rid of that quickly. Oops, no automatic updates, please. Thank you. Okay. So John said lack of ice cream. Well, maybe you can do by saying that, John. Martin did already a live stream from an ice cream car, but maybe we can do a live stream when I'm eating an ice cream in a nice. Yeah, you gave me an idea. Merle is saying, I heard the ice cream truck. Kenny is saying that he enjoys it when people take what they have learned from these shows and put them to use such a small show. Yeah, that's exactly that's right, Kenny. I learned a lot by watching other shows. But to be honest, the most things I learned is just by trying out, and a really big source for me is the forum of vMix. What I'm doing is I'm having a look at the vMix forum, and then I see, this is an interesting question. And the first week or first few days, I don't look for the answers. And then I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. And sometimes it's the same as what other answers, as the other answers. But sometimes I found something out but completely different. And it's with every program there are several solutions. And I learned a lot just by discussing with Martin. We have a chat, and would it be possible? And then we start to play with vMix a little bit. We give each other feedback, and by doing it that way, we're figuring out. Because this is for me maybe the most frustrating part of vMix. I don't know what the percentage is of vMix that I'm using. To be honest, I think it's rather low. There are so many things that are also hidden, and what John was saying, and what I also was saying, I think the big problem is the manual. Tim has put so many time and effort in all these pre-recorded YouTube videos, which are magnificent. But sometimes you want to do something and it's not always clear what to put where, and sometimes it's frustrating. And like now, for instance, what I showed you in the beginning of the show with the titles, it's something we found out by discussing in one of the Facebook groups. Oh, you can do it that way or that way, but it's not documented. So yeah, that's something maybe I'm going to give this feedback to the vMix people. Let me see if there are other suggestions or discussions into the chat. John is saying videos are great resources, but manual read needs a major revamp. Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but I participated a few years ago for a rather big company that it was a big company, but they weren't too good in writing stuff, and they asked the collaboration of the of all their users, and I was one of the key users in documenting stuff. And there is software for writing manuals, and yeah, I would be more than happy to write maybe some articles in the manual about data sources, because that's still my biggest knowledge at the moment. And maybe, just to give you an example, Jens could write something about instant replay or shortcuts, and someone else who has another. And by doing it, and of course you need an editor, and that could be maybe Tim or someone from vMix that says, okay, this is a really great explanation with screenshots and stuff like that. Let's put this into the manual. Yes, let me put this up. That was I was thinking on the name, John, but I forgot it. It was kind of wiki, and that was what I was thinking about. But I wanted to launch it, but before I do it, I really think we need the approval of vMix, if we can do it. And maybe if they not say no, we're not interested, it can be a non-vMix thing. But it's maybe an idea to launch in a few groups for a wiki. I'm going to think about it. I haven't set up a wiki myself, but it's a great idea, and it could give also a new dynamic in a few groups. Oh, okay, I wonder, maybe some people don't like to talk, but they are great writers, or they have great knowledge. So yeah, you can do it that way or that way, and maybe someone else can then start to write. But I think the wiki, it's a really nice idea. Also, Kenny is saying that that's an interesting idea. Because I think still the biggest advantage for me of vMix is the community. All the other communities, and I visit them all the latest time. Some people are really, well, yeah. To be honest, if you don't like a product, just leave. And I don't like to be the troll in a group and say, oh, no, that's bad and that's bad and that's bad. Okay, take another program and continue. But there. But I'm doing it myself, of course, with my close group, and there is not too much interaction in my group because it's just me, often launching what I found, and a few people ask some questions. But you have the Walls group, you have Tom's group, you have the vMix user group forum. So that are already only 3 groups, so Walls, Tom's, and the vMix user groups, 3 groups that are mainly discussing vMix. And I know it's never going to happen that there's only going to be one group where people are just discussing, because one group is more focused a little bit towards the specialists. In Walls, it's still the Walls from last year and 2 years. Like, people at a slowly pace can discuss about almost everything. It's not only about vMix, but it's a shame that the knowledge is a little bit divided in 3 groups. And yeah. John is asking, speaking of trolls, where is Tommy? Yes, because I was planning to give, in my first shows, I always gave someone a shout out, and I wanted to give Tommy a shout out as one of my most loyal viewers. But yeah, where's Tommy? Kenny is saying, I would hope that vMix would like the idea as it helps the entire vMix user community. I do think so, Kenny, and I think if we can start, let's say, with 5 or 10 writers, or people, maybe just people can launch. I don't know how the wiki community is working. Let's say, Kenny, that you are saying, oh, question, which is the sort, what do I need to put in these fields when I want to use a shortcut for vMix call? Then the writer who is responsible for vMix or shortcuts can say, okay, Kenny, I'm going to write, and it's only maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I'll write an article about that, and bit by bit we can build up that way the wiki. So well, I'll put I'm going to put it into the vMix forum as maybe as a feature request. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. So people who like it can give it, but it's not really related to vMix itself, of course. But I'm going to launch it in the general forum as an idea and see which interaction it generates, and we'll take it from there. If some people want to collaborate, okay, good, and otherwise, yeah, I'm more than happy to take the lead in it and see who is interested in collaborating. Hi Andreas, good evening. Nice to have you here. This is a good one from Kenny. I like the guy who doesn't show up on the day for the perfect attendance award. Yeah, it's always the same, Kenny. When you want to give people an award, they don't want it. Maybe that's something else. Maybe I should have a bigger award for Tommy. John is saying it would be a feature request as it's improving the help system. What do you think, guys? Would it be a good idea to put it as a feature request or not? So if you could give your idea about that. Martin is asking if I had any luck with the vMix call video activator. No, Martin, I didn't looked for it, to be honest. Still have to look if it's possible, because that's also another feature request. There's a serious lack of activators, and probably there's a reason, but we found activators for the audio part, for vMix call, for instance, but not for the video part. So, well, they don't. Yeah, they need to stop it at a certain point. But we could really use a lot more activators, and maybe there are some solutions. No problem, Martin. Merle and Kenny are saying that it's a good idea to put it into the feature request. Okay, guys, when the show is finished in a few minutes, well, I said 8:45, but it's an interesting discussion, so I'm let it open for a while. When the show is finished, I put it as a feature request into the vMix forum, and Those who like it gives it a +1. Those who don't like it just don't react. Okay. I'm still having a look at the forum, so guys, if you have any other questions or remarks, just put them there. What I want to say about my last year, and maybe the most interesting thing that happened for me is the contacts I had by doing it. I met a few people who are still not, that I didn't met in real life. So John, be warned, probably this year I'm coming over to Scotland. So I'll let you know, and if you're interested in having a wee dram together, I'm more than happy to do that, or you can take whatever you want. But I met the people from vMix, I met the people from X-Keys, I met Martin, I met Giles. Maybe one of these years we can go to the States and met a few people in real life. But even just having those weekly or now bi-weekly contacts, I learned not only a lot about live streaming, but I had some discussions at a certain time with Merle about his garden and the shows he's doing. So it's and I'm seeing now here that they're still here on top title. I need to pay attention on that. By the way, but what I was saying is I learned so much also about you, my viewers, because I just say John were saying, okay, I'm from that part of Scotland, and yeah, then the first thing I do is, oh, where is that? And you learn something about the country, or yeah, like Andreas. That's I think Andreas that you were from Norrköping, I think, if I'm correct. So that's something. Oh, where's Norrköping? So I'm looking up where's Norrköping. Oh, some facts about Norrköping. So by doing that, yeah, I'm an information addict. I learned a lot of other countries and people. Thanks for attending, Andreas. Hope to see you soon in probably 2 weeks. John heard the warning. So that's nice. Yes, Martin, maybe we can do an we visit Scotland and do some crazy stuff over there. I've been twice to Scotland, once in Glasgow and one in Edinburgh, and I really liked it. Yeah, John is saying I'll need to open a hotel at this rate. Yeah, hopefully the hotels, and I'm sure that the hotels in Scotland are a lot cheaper than in Amsterdam. But to give you an idea, guys, for the thing I'm going now in 2 days, the cheapest hotel I found now, which was a little bit decent, was 300 euro for a night. I found a hotel for 150, but that was in a dormitory, and I'm a little bit too old to stay in a dormitory. So really, it was the cheapest hotel, 3 stars, 300 euro. If you want a cheaper one, like the one I stayed in September, you almost need to book it 6 months in advance, which is rather crazy. And ISE, the thing that's going to happen now, which is happening right now, and where I'm going on Thursday, they lost, and it's huge for Amsterdam, the revenue. They lost it to Barcelona. One, because 11 halls apparently is not enough, but also because people were complaining about the hotel rates. No, that was not per month, and I know you guys, because that was something that was so confronting for me, that the hotel prices in the United States are rather cheap. I thought they were huge, but if you compare them with the hotel prices in Europe, this was crazy. Because when vMix asked me to come over for a week to Amsterdam to work for them, I said, yeah, no problem. I said, but be careful, because the hotel prices are every week. The closer you come to the event, the higher the hotel prices are getting. So if you go next week or in 2 weeks to Amsterdam, the same hotel is probably 30 or 40% cheaper. So it's, well, it is what it is. But this, yeah. So this is a little bit because I really like to travel. The problem is, yeah, like a hotel, it's just to sleep. I don't stay hours in my hotel room, so why would I pay €300? I prefer to buy something with that, so. Well, John, don't need special muffins, and I know other stuff which is really nice in Scotland to eat, and I'm not talking about you know what, that's for the tourists. Well, we are a tourist, but I'm not going to eat it. So guys, if there are no more questions or feedback, I'm going to call it a day here. I really enjoyed the past year, and I must say a big thank you to all of you who attended every week or from week to week, because I know it's not always as easy for everyone, certainly not for the people in the States, because it's, I think now it's 9 o'clock minus 6, so it's 3 o'clock Eastern and probably 2 or 4 Central, I don't know. Yeah, okay, this, well, let's go out with a fun story, and I hope you don't mind it. So when we were in Amsterdam, Martin Steed was also coming to Amsterdam, and Martin was staying well 20 minutes or so out of Amsterdam. The problem was, and it was unexpected for everyone, that we went to a restaurant with the PI engineering crew for, well, a quick drink, but the quick drink became a dinner with more than one drink. And suddenly we realized that there was no more public transport, or, well, at least for Martin. So Martin had to call the place where he stayed to say, yeah, it's going to be a little later because I'm still here in Amsterdam and I need to go to need public transport. And I think Martin, correct me if I'm wrong, Martin, but Martin needed to have a rather long walk because it was too late for public transport. So that was our first night in Amsterdam, but it was great, great stuff, and it's these things who are making yeah, all these things really worthwhile. Thank you, Kenny, for participating. Thank you, Mel, for being a regular on my show. John, glad to have you back. I thought I lost you, but great to see you. Martin, you know, I love you, Martin. Andreas is gone, but thanks, Andreas. And if I missed some other people here into the chat, thanks 1,000 times for supporting me. And I hope we can have a lot of more discussions like these, and trying to help each other. Hope to see you soon, and see you in a few weeks. Bye bye. Okay, guys. It's the live streaming is just on, just to give everyone the opportunity to say bye to each other, because the moment I close the stream, the chat is also closed. So thanks again, and for your feedback and participation, and yeah, we talk to each other soon. Bye bye for now.